From the UNTV News and Rescue Command Center in Quezon City, this is Y News.
Tonight on Y News. Metro Manila Development Authority conducts annual metro-wide earthquake drill despite rains and lack of public announcement. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council urges public to not disregard mobile warning messages amid the current inclement weather. And Filipino rock climber in Thailand details the events and his part in the dramatic rescue of a football team trapped in a flooded cave. Good evening. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority pushes through with its shake drill despite rains and lack of public announcement on the exact day and time of the simulation. Here's why from Aiko Miguel.
Several government and private agencies joined the 4th annual Metro-wide earthquake drill organized by the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority earlier. Dubbed online as #MMShakeDrill, the simulation was prompted by a short messaging service sent by the National Telecommunications Commission at 1 in the afternoon today, informing the public about the drill. Most of the participants are Malacañang and Quezon City Hall employees and some staff and patients of the Philippine General Hospital in Manila. They did the duck cover and hold before calmly exiting the buildings. According to Mike Marasigan, the head of the Quezon City DRRMO, today's drill will last for 24 hours which will present various scenarios to be responded by rescuers.
May mga victims tayo na nasa loob. So yun ang kinoncentrate mo natin. Kaya meron tayong high angle rescue, kasama natin yung BFP, Quezon City Fire District, and also as well as the Central Volunteer Brigade. Nagkaroon ng search and rescue sa boom building sa mga trapped victims.
They also stopped the vehicles along EDSA to give way to the ambulances and rescuers proceeding to the north, south, east, and west quadrant. They also put up an emergency operations center that monitors every area in case of calamity. In MMDA Metro Base, they installed a signal booster in case all cell sites go down during the calamity.
Ina-assemble na nila ngayon yung mga antena. Siguro in mga 4 hours, 5 hours, buhay na yung signal na.
The MMDA says it deliberately did not make any prior announcements on the exact time and day of the simulation to test the level of awareness and preparedness of the public, as no one can predict an actual earthquake.
Kasi we would like to test yung hindi siya scripted, maging spontaneous, kasi that's how we really anticipate the events to be during a real earthquake.
MMDA appeals to public to not ignore such drills because this will benefit everyone when major disasters strike. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The lone Filipino who joined Thailand rescue teams who extracted the young Thai footballers trapped in a cave shares his part in the dramatic rescue. And in spite of praises for the successful mission, he is quick to say that he is no hero. Let's find out why from Kat Dumarao's exclusive.
It was on June 23rd when Filipino Christopher John Seji Aquino heard of the news about the 12 young footballers and their coach trapped in a flooded underground cave in Chiang Rai, Thailand. The onslaught of the monsoon was relentless and authorities are racing against time to rescue the team. Videos of the incident have swamped the social media at that time, and some of his friends who know of his passion for rock climbing tagged him, asking for his help.
I saw a couple of tags, like I was tagged on some posts and saying that, hey Chris, like, are you able, do you know if you could help in this situation? And then I tried looking at it and it was like, oh, it's a cave incident. Later on that day, I got a call from the governor's office saying that, could you come to Chiang Rai and maybe you could help assist in the situation.
Later that day, Seji received a call from local authorities asking for volunteers who are skilled in rock climbing with gears, ready to climb at least 800 meters. Seji has been living and working in Thailand for 20 years. He works as a high school English teacher, but during his spare time, he works as a rock climbing instructor and guide in Bangkok. His passion for the dangerous sport led his involvement in the dramatic cave rescue of the youth football squad. Seji traveled to the Tamluang cave in Chiang Rai with other volunteer climbers. They were tasked to find any possible holes to extract the boys from the flooded cave.
We were on the southern end. So what we were doing was trying to find passageways, alternate passageways into the main cavern. So we were checking crevices, and limestone has a lot of those. There were tons of holes, and the only way that you could access them would be climbing ground up.
He said it was a challenge trailblazing through dense vegetation, and the heavy rain is making the task harder than it already was.
Climbing was that was the most dangerous part because it's a national park. So a lot of the rock faces have never been climbed before, which means that climbing it on trad gear or on just like traditional gear was already a challenge. But then what made it very challenging was it was raining.
His team crawled in tight spaces for days, sticking their hands under rocks, not minding the danger of being bitten by poisonous creatures. They found a potential hole they could drill through. However, the officials heading the rescue mission chose to extract the team by diving into the submerged cave chambers. After more than 2 weeks, the rescue team was able to get the trapped footballers out of the cave, declaring the mission as successful. But amid praises, Seji is quick to say that he is no hero.
No, I don't see myself as a hero. I guess I was doing my part. I mean, I knew what I was getting myself into, and I was confident enough in my skill sets.
Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue, Thailand.
The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council appeals to the public to pay attention to the alerts they are receiving through their mobile phones because of the inclement weather. Here's why from Ray Pelayo.
During rainy weather, the public often receives messages of their mobile phones alerting them of heavy rains and flooding. National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council spokesperson Edgar Posadas says this is part of their system to warn residents who might be affected by flash floods and landslides triggered by heavy downpour.
Basically, ito po kasi ay para lamang maging straightforward sa ating pagbabatid ng ating ng warning para makakilos yung ating mga tao on the ground at maging ligtas sila at the time na tinataas natin yung alert warning.
Pag-asa previously outlined the rainfall warning system to inform the public on the amount of rainfall they may experience due to weather systems like tropical cyclones, monsoons, and thunderstorms. The yellow rainfall advisory encourages the public to monitor weather condition due to heavy rains that may persist for the next 2 hours. When experiencing intense rain, the orange rainfall advisory will be issued and the residents are advised to prepare for possible evacuation because of flooding threat, while the red rainfall advisory tells the public to flee to safer grounds due to the serious flooding caused by torrential rains. Among the areas that is usually waterlogged is the Marikina City when the Marikina River overflows during heavy downpour. Learning from the past incidents, the city is making use of an alarm system to warn residents to prepare for evacuation when the river's water level reaches second and third alarms. They have also installed CCTV cameras with audio system for public address. Barangay Tumana Councilman Jimmy Sigera says the village's population is around 47,000 and 15 to 20% of it is usually affected by flooding.
Third alarm na, ito na yung pre-evacuation. So evacuate na ang mga nasa low-lying areas. Pagdating ng 18, forced evacuation na yan.
Then the RRMC also calls on the public to take their advisories seriously for their own safety.
Sa paghahanda, di bali na hong OA basta ligtas tayo. Kesa we did not plan or kulang yung plano natin at may napahamak.
Ray Pelayo, UNTV, News and Rescue, Marikina City.
Authorities have found the body of 11-year-old John Darwin Vargas, who was reported missing after he accidentally fell off into the raging waters of Tulyahan River. A garbage merchant found John Darwin's body at a creek in the boundary of Barangay 164 and Barangay 163 at Plastican Estrella compound on Tuesday afternoon. John Darwin's remains lie in state at Intervale Subdivision in Caloocan City. Meanwhile, prices of highland vegetables increased over the past days amid rains brought by the intensified southwest monsoon. Victor Cosare explains why.
The Benguet Farmers Marketing Cooperative reports an upsurge in the prices of their vegetables in the past days because of the strong rains caused by the prevailing southwest monsoon. The group notes a 5 to 10 peso increase in some Benguet vegetables, particularly in green bell pepper and broccoli, while the wholesale prices of cabbages, carrots, and potatoes remain. They say the increase is due to vegetables being wet, making it difficult to pack and transport to public markets and supermarkets. The group, however, stresses that there is still enough supply of vegetables as farmers harvested their goods early. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council meanwhile reports over 4 million pesos worth of damages in the agriculture sector of Occidental Mindoro. Parts of the province is still reeling from the effects of the monsoon rains after it was intensified by Tropical Cyclone Henry and Inday that passed the Philippine area of responsibility. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Former actress Cynthia Patag gathers over 5,000 signatures from Iloilo province in relation to the ongoing Marcos and Robredo vice presidential vote recount. Mai Bermudez tells us why.
Former actress Cynthia Patag files a letter to the Supreme Court earlier urging the Presidential Electoral Tribunal to uphold the 25% shading threshold in the ongoing vice presidential vote recount. She filed the letter purportedly on behalf of the 5,000 Iloilo voters whose signatures she gathered to support the appeal of Vice President Leni Robredo on the matter. Patag says that if the PET continues to enforce the 50% standard in the recount, their voices and votes in the 2016 elections will be disenfranchised. Iloilo is one of the 3 pilot provinces identified by former Senator Bongbong Marcos in his electoral protest, including Camarines Sur and Negros Oriental.
Well, I made a few phone calls. You know, I'm native. I'm a native. I was born in Iloilo. I grew up there hanggang 16. Then I went to Manila. Go to the barangay captains. Otherwise, this was Mario said, you cannot imagine isa-isahin mo yan. Go to barangay captains, sila na, then pick up.
In a letter addressed to Acting Chief Justice Antonio Carpio and Supreme Court magistrates and delivered by the former actress to the Presidential Electoral Tribunal, it was indicated that it is the responsibility of the Supreme Court to uphold the 1987 Constitution, which incorporates their privilege to choose the right leader.
I cannot imagine, you know, I'm so just overwhelmed that a Marcos can become vice president and then president. I can't imagine. Leni is ahead by 200,000 votes. Iloilo, Panay voted, Western Visayas voted talaga for Leni. Pag yan ay, we all know what corruption.
The camp of Marcos meanwhile says they respect Patag's opinions and right to express such sentiment. Prior to this, Robredo filed a motion asking the PET to change their decision to consider that circles in the ballot shaded in half will only be considered valid and instead allow those with 1/4 shades to be counted. SC previously directed COMELEC to confirm the basis of the recount, but the poll body has so far remained silent on the issue. Mai Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The Commission on Elections is set to hold a special off-site registration for persons with disabilities in Region 1 on a Friday. This will be conducted in all city and municipal covered courts of Pangasinan, Ilocos Sur, and Ilocos Norte from 8 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon. COMELEC will also accept applications for reactivation, correction of entry, and reinstatement of records. The COMELEC voters registration for the May 13, 2019 national and local elections began last June 2 and will last until September 29, 2018. Up next on Y News. Third major telecommunication player to possibly be announced by September as the oversight body convenes on Friday to decide on the selection guidelines. And the Members Church of God International sends help to a 92-year-old assault victim in California. Thank you for keeping me company in the first part of Y News. More reasons behind the stories with Angelo Castro III and William Thio after this quick break. I'm Rheena Villamor-Camara. Good evening.
Welcome back to Y News. We pick up from where Rheena Villamor-Camara left off. I'm Angelo Castro III, and here are the headlines. President Rodrigo Duterte opposes proposal to postpone the 2019 midterm elections. Senate President Vicente Sotto III says Congress will no longer need to railroad the efforts on federalism following the approval of the Bangsamoro Organic Law. And the Bureau of Immigration launches 11 new electronic gates at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. Good evening. President Rodrigo Duterte opposes the postponement of the 2019 midterm elections as proposed by House Leader Pantaleon Alvarez. Here's why from Rosalicos.
President Rodrigo Duterte will not support any move seeking to defer the upcoming elections, according to Malacañang. In a press briefing earlier, Presidential Spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque says the chief executive is cold towards bid to cancel the national elections in 2019 to give way for the deliberations on the proposed charter change. Roque adds he directly asked the president on his thoughts on the issue recently floated by House Leader Pantaleon Alvarez, who believed that this would help lawmakers to focus more on the proposal to rewrite the Constitution.
Ito po na pag-usapan talaga namin ni Presidente. I will quote the President. I will not have any hand in that. Talagang hindi po siya payag sa NOEL para labang sa charter change.
According to Roque, the chief executive even directed a consultative committee who drafted the federal charter to include in the transitory provisions the conduct of an election of the transition president and vice president, and to ban President Duterte and Vice President Leni Robredo from running for any public position in May 2022. Roque notes that through this action, President Duterte wants himself to be an example for his allies.
He has asked the consultative committee to include a provision that would ensure that he will not benefit from charter change. He would like to see all his allies do the same thing, not to benefit from charter change.
Meanwhile, the palace official says the administration is not concerned about VP Robredo's term of office in response to allegations that the government is pushing for federalism to cut short the term of the vice president.
Hindi binibigyan masyado ng palasyo ng pansin naman yung karera ni Vice President. Bahala naman si Vice President sa karera niya. Ang malinaw lang kami kung saan patungo ang leadership ni Presidente Duterte.
Rosa Licos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacañang.
Senate President Vicente Sotto III believes that the proposed organic law for the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao could be a good test case to see if a federal type of government would work in the country. Nel Marie Buhok will tell us why.
The proposed Bangsamoro Organic Law hurdles the scrutiny of the Bicameral Conference Committee following the reconciliation of all its sensitive and contentious provisions on Wednesday. And with the expected enactment of the proposal, Senate President Vicente Sotto III says the Congress will no longer need to railroad the efforts for the shift to federalism. During a weekly press briefing at the Senate, Sotto notes the proposed organic law could be a good test case to see if a federal type of government would work in the country.
Magandang experimental itong Bangsamoro Organic Act. Maganda dito makikita natin. Kaya hindi natin kailangan apurahin yung federalism.
The measure seeking to create a Bangsamoro entity that aims to help attain lasting peace in Mindanao is expected to be ratified by the Congress on July 23. President Duterte is expected to sign the bill into law on the same day when he delivers his third State of the Nation address. Sotto adds that in the 2 years of the implementation of the Bangsamoro Organic Act, the public would be able to weigh in if it is effective or not. He says the Congress can always repeal the law if it fails to cease the hostilities, but if it turns out positive, it would not be hard to push for charter change. Sotto admits that for now, he is not keen to push for the immediate passage of the proposed federal charter as it contains issues that needs to be thoroughly scrutinized. These include the proposed political party system, putting up of a democracy fund, and the anti-political dynasty.
Maraming debatable issues pa eh.
The Senate leader plans to call for a caucus after the SONA on Monday to get his fellow senators' take on the proposed constitutional revisions. Nel Maribuho, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Malacañang is confident that President Rodrigo Duterte will immediately sign the proposed Bangsamoro Organic Law following its approval by the Bicameral Conference Committee on Wednesday night. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque says the chief executive is likely to sign the bill into law before or on the day of his State of the Nation address. Roque adds the president may also mention the bill in his SONA report along with his other legislative agenda such as the Rice Tariffication Act and the proposed charter change and shift to federalism.
Anytime now he can actually sign as soon as we receive the consolidated version of the proposed Republic Act, the President can sign.
Malacañang stresses that the Philippines cannot be bound by the policies of the United States of America in transacting with other countries. The statement of the palace comes after reports that Philippines is at risk of breaching sanctions by the U.S. over the country's reported purchase of 400 million pesos worth of rocket-propelled grenade launchers from a blacklisted Russian firm. Under a law that U.S. President Donald Trump signed in August, any country trading with Russia's defense sectors will face sanctions. The law is designed to punish Russia for its annexation of Crimea from Ukraine, for supporting Syrian government, and for allegedly meddling in the 2016 U.S. presidential polls. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque says the U.S. cannot impose sanctions on the Philippines over its sovereign decision to purchase arms from Russia, though the plan is still under study.
The Philippines is a sovereign state. We have immunity and we are free to enter into contracts as we please, and we are not bound by any domestic law, particularly where the transaction will not occur in U.S. soil.
The Department of Information and Communications Technology is looking to name the third telecommunications player by September once the guidelines are approved. The agency also reiterates its opposition to Finance Department's proposal to auction the remaining frequency to the third telco player. Let's find out why from Monoxon's report.
The terms of reference governing the entry of the third telecommunications player will be known on Friday, as the Interagency Oversight Committee decides which proposed guidelines will be applied. The oversight body is facing two proposals. One is the highest committed level of service, or H-clause, favored by the Department of Information and Communications Technology, and the other is the auction or selling of the remaining frequency, being pushed by the Department of Finance. DICT OIC USEC Eliseo Rio favors the H-clause method as the criterion for the selection of a new major telco player. Under its guidelines, the new telco will be selected for its population coverage, minimum average broadband speed, and annual capital and operating expenditure over a 5-year commitment period. While the auction mode states that the bidder that will offer the highest annual capital and operating expenditure for a 5-year period shall be selected as the third telco. According to USEC Rio, if the third player will be selected through the auction mode, its service to the public will be compromised because it will surely recover from its consumers the amount spent in acquiring the frequency.
Yung frequency na available
Rio says that if the H-clause method will not be chosen as the term of reference, he will resign from his post.
Kung ang feeling ko, ang what is right is yung committed level of service at hindi yun ang napili, then I'm useless, di ba? Pagbigay ko na lang sa iba na mas useful.
Meanwhile, the stakeholders believe that the Finance Department should stay out of the DICT matters because the President gave them the authority to select the third telco.
The DICT has the mandate to decide on these things. It will only be the President who has the authority to override his alter ego. Si Secretary Rio being the alter ego for ICT matters.
The DICT seeks to name the third telco by September once the guidelines are approved. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Bureau of Immigration expects an improvement in its services with the launch of the new electronic gate system at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. John Nano tells us why.
The Immigration Bureau wants to cut the processing time of international passengers and to lessen the long queues at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport with the launching of its electronic gate system or e-gate project. The Bureau aims to improve the processing time to just 8 to 25 seconds from the present 45 seconds. According to Immigration Deputy Commissioner Tobias Javier, the gates will automatically open once a passenger taps his or her machine-readable passport and all its details are processed. But the Bureau clarifies that the system is still in experimental phase and will only be used first by Filipinos with ship-containing passports.
Malaking tulong to sa ating mga arriving Filipino passengers kasi mabilis na, hindi na sila dadaan sa manual counters, no? Diretso na sila dito sa e-gates as long na mayroon silang MRP, yung mababasa ng e-gates yung passport nila, mga bagong passport na inisyo ng DFA.
Foreign passengers will still pass the regular screening area at the immigration booth.
Convenient to. Ganito rin sa Singapore kaya mabilis to pag hindi ka nadadaan sa yung pila, mabilis din yan.
I think we will be at par with other immigration, airports in the world. Good, perfect.
This system is also expected to enhance BI's ability to detect passengers with derogatory records, including wanted fugitives. A total of 21 e-gates will be installed in 4 major international airports in the country this year. Meanwhile, immigration officers will receive more pay after the Office of the President approves the request. BI Chief of Port Operations Division Mark Red Marinas says each officer will receive 22,500 increase in wages. The chief stresses this will motivate the employees to work harder and to encourage more bureau applicants. 50 airport immigration officers are currently under training, while over 100 plantilla positions will be opened in the following months. Joan Ano, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasay City.
A teachers group is calling on the Department of Education to lighten the load of paperwork that the educators are being required to submit. Aiko Miguel tells us why.
The Alliance of Concerned Teachers reiterates its appeal on the Department of Education to lessen the paper workload of educators. This is after Emily Malate, a teacher in Leyte, allegedly committed a suicide last July 14 because of the stress and depression she experienced in her job. According to a post in the social media page created by Malate's friends, Emily was not able to cope with her workload as a newly hired teacher. She was assigned to handle 3 classes. Public school teachers are required to submit reports and make lesson plans on top of their teaching loads.
Sa kalagayan sa Pilipinas na wala, halos wala po tayong mga education support personnel. Si teacher ay naging teacher, registrar, gumagampan bilang nurse, guidance counselor, gumagampan ng samot-saring trabaho at dagdag pa dyan yung napakaraming forms, paperworks na kanyang ginagawa na maaari naman sanang gawin ng isang clerk ng eskwelahan.
ACT proposes for DepEd to hire more non-teaching personnel who will be tasked to complete the paper or clerical works of teachers who are handling multiple classes.
2 punto ito, punan na ng DepEd yung mga bakanting non-teaching personnel items at mag-create ng mga non-teaching items na support doon sa trabaho ng ating mga teaching personnel.
The DepEd Central Office, meanwhile, has yet to release a statement on the issue as they are still looking into the case. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The California State Department of Justice reports an increase in the number of hate crimes in the past year despite campaigns on race and gender equality. Here's why from Calvin Manaig.
Reported hate crimes jumped more than 17% in California last year in spite of ongoing thrust on equality among races and gender. In a report made public by the California Attorney State General's Office this July, hate crimes in the past year rose to 1,093 from the 931 cases reported in 2016. The recent uptick in hate crimes is attributed to greater incivility in national politics, events that spur these type of crimes and other prejudices. The state's Department of Justice defines hate crimes as those targeting victims because of their race or ethnicity, nationality, religion, sexual orientation, gender, or disability. 92-year-old Rodolfo Rodriguez, a permanent resident here from Mexico, was assaulted in July 4. He says the attack began after he accidentally bumped into a girl while walking down the street in Los Angeles. Witnesses to the incident said that the girl hit Rodriguez with a brick on his face while her male companions mauled and shouted at him to go back to his homeland. And though it has been weeks, he still bears the traces of the assault.
May God help her. Also, I'm not asking them to do something bad to her, that they may take hold of her.
Rodriguez's family hopes that the American government will open more opportunities to immigrants who escape their own countries to seek for a better life. A GoFundMe page has been opened for Rodriguez to seek help for his medications. Among those who responded are Brother Eli Soriano and Brother Daniel Razon of the Members Church of God International.
Thank you very much. I don't deserve what you're doing to me because I'm old and poor, but God may repay you for what you're doing for me. And may God give you blessings day by day.
I want to thank Brother Eli and Daniel for sending these wonderful people to come to our house and to share their love with us. That shows us that our grandpa, people are really sad what happened to him, but it's showing us that there's still love in this world and people are still caring for people, and that's the best message that we can send to people.
To date, Rodriguez's GoFundMe page remains open, which has received over $324,000 worth of donation within 11 days. Calvin Manaig, UNTV News and Rescue, Los Angeles, USA.
Up next on Y News. The International Basketball Federation, or FIBA, suspends 10 Gilas players and its 2 coaches over the brawl between the Philippines and Australia. And Iron Man jet suit up on sale in London. And those are the reasons behind the stories in the second part of our newscast. Y News returns after this quick break.
I will persist in our goal of attaining peace to the last day of this administration and maybe even beyond, although in a different capacity. Sabi na doon, bully daw ako. Talaga yun. Talagang bully ako. Talagang bully ako, especially to the enemies of the state. Talagang bully ako.
complete the most significant news for this day, Y News continues. Here are the top stories. Several government and private agencies joined the 4th annual Metro-wide earthquake drill organized by the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority today. Dubbed as Shake Drill, the simulation began around 1 in the afternoon following a text message sent by the National Telecommunications Commission. Vehicles along EDSA were stopped to give way to the ambulances and rescuers proceeding to 4 quadrants. An emergency operations center and a signal booster were also installed, which will act as a backup in case all cellular sites go down during a disaster. According to MMDA, the drill will last for 24 hours, which will present various scenarios to be responded by rescuers. The agency says it deliberately did not make any prior announcements on the exact time of the simulation to test the level of awareness and preparedness of the public, as no one can predict an actual earthquake. They also appeal to the public to not ignore such drills, as this will come in handy when a major disaster strikes.
Kasi we would like to test yung hindi siya scripted, maging spontaneous. Kasi that's how we really anticipate that the events to be during a real earthquake.
A Filipino rock climber who volunteered to help in the extrication of the young Thio footballers trapped in a flooded cave. Complex details the events and his part in dramatic rescue. Christopher John Seji Aquino says he was called in to help by the local authorities, who were then looking for volunteers with skills and gears. Aquino has been living in Thailand for 20 years, working as an English high school teacher, but during his spare time, he works as a rock climbing instructor and guide in Bangkok. He says he and other volunteer rock climbers climb for days while facing challenges in fulfilling their task to find holes, as they need to climb through dense vegetation amid heavy rains.
We were on the southern end, so what we were doing was trying to find passageways, alternate passageways into the main cavern. So we were checking crevices, and limestone has a lot of those. There were tons of holes, and the only way that you could access them would be climbing ground up.
Though they found a potential hole they could drill through, the officials heading the mission chose to extract the footballers by diving into the submerged chambers. But amid praises for the successful rescue mission, Seji says he is not a hero.
No, I don't see myself as a hero. I guess I was doing my part. I mean, I knew what I was getting myself into, and I was confident enough in my skill sets.
The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council is urging the public to take the alerts they are receiving through their mobile phones seriously amid the rainy weather. According to NDRRMC spokesperson Edgar Posadas, this is part of their system to warn residents who might be affected by flash floods and landslides triggered by heavy downpour. The mobile emergency system usually sends messages alerting the user of possible flooding depending on the amount of rainfall. It also warns and reminds the user to be safe during earthquakes.
Sa paghahanda, di bali na hong OA basta ligtas tayo. Kesa we did not plan or kulang yung plano natin at may napahamak.
President Rodrigo Duterte is not supporting any move to postpone the 2019 midterm elections. According to presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque, the chief executive is against the proposal of House Leader Pantaleon Alvarez to defer the upcoming polls to allow the lawmakers to focus more on charter change deliberations. He adds the chief executive also wants to set an example for his allies in not benefiting from charter change bid by ordering the revision of the transitory provisions of the draft federal charter to ban him from seeking re-election in 2022.
Ito po na pag-usapan talaga namin ni Presidente. I will quote the President. I will not have any hand in that. Talagang hindi po siya payag sa NOEL para labang sa charter change. He has asked the consultative committee to include the provision that would ensure that he will not benefit from charter change. He would like to see all his allies do the same thing, not to benefit from charter change.
Senate President Vicente Sotto III sees no need for Congress to railroad the efforts for the shift to federalism following the approval of the Bangsamoro Organic Law by the Bicameral Conference Committee. Sotto believes that with the expected ratification and enactment of the bill next week, this could be used as a test case to see if a federal type of government would work in the country. He notes the Congress can always repeal the law if it fails to cease the hostilities in Mindanao, but if it turns out good, it would not be hard to push for charter change. President Duterte is expected to sign the bill into law before or on the day he delivers his third State of the Nation address.
Magandang experimental itong Bangsamoro Organic Act. Dito makikita natin. Kaya hindi natin kailangan apurahin yung federalism.
The Bureau of Immigration launches its electronic gate system project aiming to cut the processing time of international passengers and to lessen the long queues at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. The Bureau expects to improve the processing time to just 8 to 25 seconds from the present 45 seconds. The agency says the gates will automatically open once it processes the details contained in the passenger's machine-readable passport. However, the system is only available to Filipinos for now as it is still in its experimental phase. Foreign passengers will still pass the regular screening area at the immigration booth. The Immigration Bureau aims to install a total of 21 e-gates in 4 major international airports in the country this year.
Malaking tulong to sa ating mga arriving Filipino passengers. Kasi mabilis na, hindi na sila dadaan sa manual counters. No? Diretso na sila dito sa e-gates as long na mayroon silang MRP, yung pababasa ng e-gates yung passport nila. Mga bagong passport na inisyo ng DFA. Malaking tulong to sa ating
Rains are expected to persist until Saturday. Tell us why, Leslie Longbowen at UNTV Weather Center.
Yes, good evening. Inday has slightly intensified as it moves east-northeastward over the Philippine Sea. The center of the tropical storm was earlier located at 1,025 kilometers east of Basco, Batanes, with maximum sustained winds of 75 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 90 kilometers per hour. Meanwhile, the southwest monsoon enhanced by Inday will bring monsoon rains over Batanes, Babuyan Group of Islands, Ilocos Region, Cordillera Administrative Region, Bataan, and Zambales. Occasional rains will also be experienced over Metro Manila and the rest of Luzon, while partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers will prevail over Visayas and Mindanao. Pag-asa warns sea travel remains risky over the eastern seaboard of northern Luzon and the seaboards of central Luzon due to rough to very rough seas. According to Pag-asa, temperature in Metro Manila tomorrow will range from 24 to 29 degrees Celsius, 17 to 19 degrees Celsius in Baguio City, 26 to 33 degrees Celsius in Metro Cebu and Metro Davao. Tomorrow, the sun is expected to rise at 5:36 in the morning. That's the weather forecast. Back to the studio.
Thank you, Leslie Longbowen, reporting from UNTV Weather Center. A tractor operator was killed while trying to clear brushes around a massive wildfire in Central Oregon. Crews responding to a report of a charred tractor near the Dallas, Oregon, found the unidentified driver nearby. The sheriff's office is asking for the public's help in identifying the victim. While in California, 2 firefighters were also injured battling a blaze burning at the edge of Yosemite. One firefighter broke a leg, requiring hospitalization, and a second was treated for heat-related illness after fighting the so-called Ferguson fire burning on the western boundary. The Turkish government has ended the nationwide state of emergency that was imposed 2 years ago after a failed coup attempt. Under the state of emergency, tens of thousands of people were arrested or dismissed from their jobs. The government has decided against extending it again after 7 3-month renewals. The decision comes weeks after President Recep Tayyip Erdogan won re-election. During the campaign, opposition candidates said that the first thing they would do if they win would be to end the state of emergency. Israel's parliament has passed into law a controversial bill that defines the country as an exclusively Jewish state. The Jewish nation state bill downgrades Arabic as an official language and advancing Jewish settlement as a national interest. It also states that the whole and united Jerusalem is its capital. Israeli Arab MPS condemns the legislation, but Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praises it as a defining moment. An American federal judge orders the imprisonment of an alleged Russian agent until her trial. Meanwhile, North Korean military authorities are now allowed to contact their counterparts in Seoul through phone call and fax. Here's why from Beverly Saison.
In America, a federal judge on Wednesday ordered accused Russian agent Maria Butina jailed until her trial after U.S. prosecutors argued she has ties to Russian intelligence and poses a serious flight risk. The Justice Department said Butina has been in contact with Russian intelligence operatives and kept contact information for several Russian agents. Butina's attorney Robert Driscoll has said she is not a Russian agent and poses no flight risk after she was arrested on Sunday without warning. In South Korea and the Democratic People's Republic of Korea has fully restored a military hotline in the western region, allowing the military authorities of the two sides to contact through phone call and fax. Seoul's defense ministry said the military communications line was completely restored Monday, marking the first restoration in about 29 months since it was cut off with the close down of the Kaesong industrial complex on February 11, 2016. The Inter-Korean Factory Park in the DPRK's border town of Kaesong was unilaterally shut down by the prior South Korean government over Pyongyang's nuclear test in January 2016. And in South Africa, Wednesday would have been former president and anti-apartheid hero Nelson Mandela's 100th birthday, and to mark the anniversary, a set of limited edition banknotes and gold coins was launched in South Africa's capital of Pretoria. Mandela, South Africa's first black president, is known throughout the world as an icon of peace and reconciliation who came to embody the struggle for justice and liberation. He died in 2013 at the age of 95. Events have been planned throughout the year for Mandela's birth, including a large concert in December in South Africa that will be headlined by Beyoncé and Jay-Z and hosted by Oprah Winfrey and others. Beverly Saison, UNTV News and Rescue.
FIBA suspends 10 players and 2 coaches of Gilas for their roles in the brawl between the Philippines and Australia during the World Cup Asian qualifiers last July 2. Player Calvin Abueva received the heftiest sanction of all as he is banned for 6 games, while Roger Pogoy, Carl Cruz, and Gio Halalon were slapped with a 5-game ban. Terence Romeo, Jason Castro William, Andre Blatch, and Jeff Troy Rosario were handed a 3-game suspension, while Japeth Aguilar and Matthew Wright got 1 game each. Assistant coach Joseph Ochico, meanwhile, has been suspended for 3 games, while Chot Reyes is out for 1 game and is fined over $500,000 pesos for allegedly inciting unsportsmanlike behavior. The Samahan Basketball ng Pilipinas, on the other hand, has to pay 30 million pesos for the unsportsmanlike behavior of its delegation members.
It's painful, obviously. We have sanctions of suspensions and heavily fined yung federation. But in general, I think it's a fair decision.
FIBA also banned Daniel Kickert for 5 games, Thon Maker 3, and Chris Golding 1. Basketball Australia was also fined for its players' behavior and for abusing and/or tampering of equipment after having removed floor stickers from the court on the eve of the game.
Our 3 players, Daniel Kickert, Thon Maker and Chris Goulding, They've all been found guilty and have received match suspensions. It's important to note the match suspensions are for FIBA Asia qualifiers for World Cup. They don't apply to NBL for Chris and Daniel or to Thon for NBA.
The world governing body announced its decision on Thursday following a thorough review of the incident. A British inventor creates a jet engine-powered suit reminiscent of Marvel's superhero Iron Man, which is now on sale in London. Here's why from Leslie Longbowen.
Ever fancied a dab at being Iron Man? Now you can. A jet suit created by a British former commodities trader has gone on sale in a London department store with a cool price tag of £340,000 or $443,428. Made up of 5 miniature jet engines mounted on the pilot's arms and back, and also of electronics and 3D printed parts, the suit by Gravity Industries is reminiscent of the one worn by Robert Downey Jr. as Marvel superhero Iron Man. Running on jet fuel or diesel, it has a speed record of 32 miles per hour or 51 kilometers per hour, and altitude limit of 12,000 feet. Though inventor Richard Browning hovers only a few meters above the ground when using it. He has taken it on demonstrations around the world and on Wednesday took flight above a small closed-off street outside luxury department store Selfridges, which is selling custom-made versions of the suit.
This consumes around 4 litres a minute in the hover. So you can fly for 3-4 minutes quite easily, and we've got another version that certainly on a cold day when you get more thrust, then it'll fly for about 9 minutes. That's something we're looking to improve, but it's the inevitable consequence of flying without wings.
The curious can see the suit at the store as well as test out a virtual reality version. Anybody who decides to buy a suit will also be offered training. Leslie Lomboan, UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the reasons behind the news, July 19, 2018. On behalf of Rheena Villamor-Camara, I am Angelo Castro III, because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.